Welcome to the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast. Whether you are a seasoned professional or a first-time fundraiser, we have the advice you need to take your next step toward major gift mastery. I'm your host, Tom Dauber, President of Abundant Vision Philanthropic Consulting. That cultivation cycle, it's a cycle and it repeats. And if you steward people well, if you show them the impact of their giving, if you express your gratitude in a way that's meaningful to them, if you surprise and delight them with the results of their giving at your organization, they should generally be open to additional giving and possibly even at higher levels. That's really what you're going for there. So you've got a third, right? That's what you're working on. And again, this takes strategy. This takes time. This is complicated work. Like, we're thinking about all these people individually. We should have written strategies for each one of these folks describing, here's how I'm going to proceed. I'm going to meet with them. I'm going to talk with them. We're going to determine what sort of thing they like to support and how they want to support it. And we're going to try to make us an ask in this given year. Or this is a person who's given to me. I'm going to invite them to this event to say thank you. I'm going to schedule some time with the executive from my organization to re-emphasize just how important their gift has been. And I'm going to make sure that one of the people who benefits from my organization, that they write a thank you or send a video to that person to really connect them with the emotion of our organization and the difference that they're making by being a part of it, right? So you want to have these strategies written out for each of these people. Even cultivation strategies, you want to be thinking about, okay, here's a person that has affinity and means, but we've not even explored if they have an interest in giving yet. So what are the steps we're going to take? Who are we going to involve in beginning to get them somewhere? So prospect strategy could probably be a whole nother episode. So I don't want to dive too far into all that. But all that being said, that's how your portfolio should be shaped for success. Now, I'd argue that you probably don't want to have much more than 15 to 20 people in each of those stages, right? So that's going to give you a portfolio of 45 to 60. Something in that range. Now, some of you are going to get nervous because you're like, well, it needs to be at 100. Again, do you really have the time to do quality work with 100 people? I'm not sure that you do. But when you focus in at this, 45 to 60 range, what you're going to find is that you do have the time to really pay proper attention to these people and give them the type of donor experience that's going to make them want to come back and feel really connected to your organization. And let me tell you, having that type of connection with the staff, with the organization, it makes up for a lot. I know that some of you listening, you're not at the big flagship university, right? You're not at the nationwide large nonprofit. You're a community organization. You're small, right? And so you don't have stewardship officers. You don't have the people that are working day and night just to surprise and delight your donors. But you can make up for a lot of that if you just have a good relationship, if you just spend time and deeply connect with your best donors. And that, again, it takes time. And limiting the number of prospects that you're trying to work with or donors that you're trying to work with, it's going to result in your donors feeling closer to the organization, and they're going to give more, and they're going to give more frequently as a result. Now, it may require your organization then to hire some more donors, or not donors. You don't hire donors. Sorry. It's going to might require your organization to hire some more fundraisers, right? Because when you have smaller portfolios, you don't have you've got people that need to be managed then that aren't, but that's appropriate. You should be spending money to give your donors the best experience possible. And I'll tell you, you're going to see your fundraising results increase when you pay better attention to your donors and you spend more time on these strategies. So let's just walk through this again as a summary, right? If I'm trying to do like 15 donor meetings per month, and that's pretty typical, 15 to 12, right? Somewhere in there. And you got 12 months per year. So that gives you somewhere around 180 donor meetings per year, right? That's pretty good, right? And that gets you to a place too where you've got, again, my experience is most organizations would be really happy if their major gift officers were soliciting about 15 gifts per year and closing a half of those, 7 to 8, somewhere in that range, right? So what that means then, again, that you're going to want to have about 15 donors in cultivation, 15 donors in solicitation, and 15 donors, and I guess I should say potential donors in cultivation and solicitation, because they may not be donors currently, and then 15 donors in stewardship. And that gets you to a place of 45 prospects per development officer, right? And again, if you're not managing people, if you're in a place where all you do is just fundraise, you don't have additional things that you're doing, that number could get up to 60, maybe 70, somewhere in there. But I wouldn't bring it to 100, really, because you've got to have time to do these things and do them well. Now what about qualifications? You should have a pool of people that aren't in your portfolio. These are people that wealth screening may have identified, or maybe your board members have said, hey, this person could be a great donor to our organization. We need to get to know them. So you should have a list of those people somewhere, but it should not be in your portfolio. I've seen that in the past where, the moment you hear somebody won the lottery, somebody, maybe they're a graduate of your college and they have money. Well, I'm going to put them in my portfolio because I'm going to qualify them. Well, again, if you've never met them, they should not be in your portfolio. And just because the person is wealthy, just because the person has been involved with your organization in the past, does not mean they have the affinity needed in order to be in a portfolio. So you should have what I would call a qualification portfolio, something outside of your managed donors that you're using to focus your efforts on, the qualification work. And this is especially important where you've got maybe multiple fundraisers all working on qualifying people, and maybe there isn't a geographic separation between them. You're going to want to, say, well, these 20 people are yours. These 20 people are yours. That way we're not competing. That way we're not fighting over, well, I wanted to qualify that person, those sorts of things. But again, that qualification portfolio is separate from your managed donor portfolio. And that's why, and that's another thing that you see sometimes when you have people that are trying to juggle 100, 200 people in their portfolio. And that does happen. You have a lot of folks in there that really need to be qualified or maybe in some cases requalified. When you're managing that many people, it's inevitable that someone's going to fall through the cracks. Someone hasn't been seen in 2 or 3 years. Or maybe someone's in your portfolio because they gave a really big gift 30 years ago or put you in their estate 30 years ago, and no one's talked to them since. That's a bad practice, but it does happen. I've seen it. Maybe it's not the organization's fault. Maybe the person's just been hard to get a hold of. Well, there should be a place for having someone in mind, having someone you care about, but they're not going to be managed. They should not be here. Even if they're a great volunteer that everybody loves, it's an important relationship to the organization, don't put them in your portfolio just because it's an important relationship. You may have a separate type of portfolio of important relationships for the organization of people that are not donors, but you want to keep that separate. And I might even think about having a different person other than a gift officer managing that relationship for the organization. So in higher ed, I can tell you, we've got alumni societies, and they're not always necessarily made up of wealthy alumni who've given a lot. But that doesn't mean they're not important relationships to the organization. some of these people are super influential or have volunteered a lot of time, and they just mean a lot to the organization because how much love is there. Those people should be managed, but they should be managed by the alumni engagement officer, not by the major gift officer, right? So it's just really about being very disciplined, who's in, who's out, and again, going back and checking that portfolio. Like I was talking about earlier with that, we had that specialist that helped us review it. That's something you can do on your own if you don't, very few organizations have those types of people. But you want to be reviewing that portfolio by yourself or with someone else just to make sure, should this person really still be in here? Now, one thing I want to warn you not to do, and some organizations have done this, and I think this is a really bad practice. Some organizations, once a donor has made a gift, they will move the relationship manager from the gift management from the gift officer to like a stewardship officer. So think about this. So you're a person, you connect with a major gift officer, and it's a good connection. You feel close. This person's very responsive to you. They get to know you. They help you make a gift that's meaningful to you. They treat you well. All these things are good. And then all of a sudden, so this relationship culminates in a gift. And then all of a sudden, you're shuffled off to someone you have no history with, you don't know, but this now is your contact at the organization. You're not connected with that person you were before. Well, what's that going to feel like? It's going to feel like, oh, you just wanted to get with me to make a gift, and now you're done with me. That's what it's going to feel like. It doesn't matter how great your stewardship person is. There's a lot of great ones out there. Removing the gift officer from managing the relationship and the stewardship component, it's a bad idea. We want to keep the major gift officer engaged there so that they can move forward, because ultimately, if it's done right, good stewardship is going to result in another gift. And so what's going to happen? Me as the donor, I'm now working with a stewardship officer, and let's say I go along with it. It's annoying, but I'm doing it, and they're nice people, and so we get along, and we're starting the relationship all over, right? And my pledge is up, and then all of a sudden, what happens? Well, Mr. Development Officer shows back up again, and well, where's the stewardship officer I've been building a relationship with? This is not good business. You want consistency of relationship. You want a single point of contact. You want to have a person that no matter what that donor needs, if it has something to do with the organization, they know they can call their gift officer and get the resources they need. You do not want relationship management moving from person to person as the person goes through different aspects of the cultivation cycle. Keep it the same. Don't do it that other way. It's not, I think that I've never done it this way. I believe that the motivation for doing it is the thought that, well, if I keep my gift officers focused on asking, I'm going to get more money. Well, you may get more asks out that way if you take stewardship off of their plate entirely. But ultimately, I think you're sacrificing the long-term growth of giving in order to try to amp up your major gift ask numbers. And ultimately, I think you're raising less money than you would otherwise. So I guess that's my last warning for today is don't think that moving people around is going to be good for you. Maybe there's someone out there that's doing it successfully. I haven't seen it yet, but I would think myself as a donor, as someone who gives to places, I don't want 2 different people, 3 different people, interacting with me like that. I would find that very off-putting. Anyway, well, that's a topic du jour. I wanted to talk with y'all about prospect management and just get this idea out there, because I know a lot of you are sinking under the weight of 150, 200 donors in your portfolio. And really what you need to do is shrink that down, focus on the best, understanding there may be some donors that don't get the attention that they should, but what this should do is you should see, as you focus on your best donors, giving increase, and then you should be able to make a case to your board as giving increases. If we want this giving to increase, you've got to put more money in fundraising. Because at the end of the day, for many of you, it's costing you 20 cents to raise $1, 25 cents to raise $1. And so then the question you should pose to your leadership is, well, if I gave you $1 for every quarter you gave me, when would you stop giving me quarters? The answer is never. Have a great day, guys. Now, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider. I'm your host, Tom Dauber. Thank you for joining me as we journey together towards major gift mastery on the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast.